Hey, it's Dr. Jenn here. And yesterday I posted my video about my Starbucks moment. And someone asked in the comments if I would do a video about some of the words that we find in the benzo community. And I thought that was a great request. So here we go. Let's unpack some of these words. Let's see where to start. Well, let's just start with tolerance withdrawal. You might hear people say, I'm in tolerance withdrawal, and that simply means that they are experiencing withdrawal symptoms even though they are on their steady prescribed dose of a benzodiazepine. You might hear the word interdose withdrawal. That means that you've taken your medication and then a certain amount of time goes by and now you're experiencing withdrawal symptoms. And then when you take your medication, those withdrawal symptoms can go away. Usually interdose withdrawal happens with the real short-acting benzodiazepines like Xanax. Sometimes people taking Ativan can experience, and sometimes people can experience it on longer acting benzodiazepines as well. But it seems to be more common with the shorter ones such as Xanax. You might hear people talk about the different types of tapering methods. There's water titration, dry cutting, and compounding. Water titration simply means that you're grinding up your medication because they're not water soluble. So we grind them up, we put them in a determined amount of water, and then every day we're pulling off, we shake it up, we're pulling off a little bit of water so that we slowly come down. That would be a daily micro taper, a DMT. You might see those letters in a benzo forum. It just means that every day you're just reducing the amount very, very little and coming off. You're just tapering very little. Or you might do a water titration, but you're doing the cut and hold method. That's some more languaging that you might run across. Cut and hold, meaning you decide how much you're going to reduce it by, and the Ashton manual says, no more than 10% of your current dose every, 2 to 4 weeks. But everybody has to do what, they feel is best for them. Some people can go faster, some people need to go a lot slower. Your mileage may vary. It all depends on what you can tolerate. Always listen to your body. But so you might be doing the type where we say cut and hold, where you pull off a certain amount of water and that's how much you're going to pull off for the next couple of weeks. And then after that time, then you'll reduce it. So you can use a liquid titration to do a daily micro taper or a cut and hold method. You might hear people say they're dry cutting. That simply means that they are cutting a pill and coming off that way. Probably one of the least accurate ways to get off of a benzo would be to just eyeball it, like using a pill, a pill cutter or pill splitter, and just trying to kind of determine how much you're taking off. More accurate would be to get a really good jeweler scale and go by weight. Now again, you can do a daily micro taper or you can do a cut and hold. It all just depends on what is best for you, what methodology works best for you. The other method would be to get the medication compounded, and some doctors will write a prescription, and then every couple of weeks, you're just slowly coming down, and the pharmacist is creating the drug so you know exactly how much you're getting. So that's kind of the language around the whole tapering process. Now, for some of the symptoms, you might hear people say they have formication. Formication means that it feels creepy crawly under our skin, like things are crawling around under our skin. That is a common benzodiazepine injury syndrome, otherwise known as benzo withdrawal symptom. Another word that you might hear that you haven't ever heard before is akathisia. I had never heard that word or wasn't familiar with that word till I was in the benzo community. Akathisia means you have this intense need, you have to move. And people describe it in all sorts of ways. I would get bouts of it, and for me it just felt like I was just going to rip open. I had all this internalized pressure, and there were times when literally I mean, it's so hard to describe some of the lived experiences, but I can remember being in a car. We were going through a drive-through at a restaurant, and I just felt like I was going to have to open up the car door and get out and run. I mean, I just felt like I was going to explode. It's a very uncomfortable feeling, but that's called akathisia. Let's think of some of the other things that you might hear of. Or see some of the abbreviations. In the community, you might hear people saying, I have this SX. SX means symptom. Or you might see ABX, that stands for antibiotic. You might hear people saying not to take a fluoroquinolone. A fluoroquinolone is a type of an antibiotic, Cipro, Levaquin, there's others in that family. Especially if you're on a benzodiazepine, they can shut down those GABA receptors, so it puts you pretty much into a cold turkey state. So you might hear people warning people, don't take a fluoroquinolone. And there are other medications that we really should avoid. Some of the antifungals can be hard on us too when we are getting off the drug, or if we're off the drug and our nervous system is still fragile. But you can certainly do a quick Google search and find out some of the other medications that you might want to avoid. Trying to think of some of the other languaging or things that you might run across in the forums. Burning skin. Burning skin is exactly what it sounds like. You can have it in patches or areas, and it just feels like you've got a severe sunburn or worse. Tingling, we can get that. We can get that in various places. I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, monoclonic jerking. Maybe you haven't ever run across that or experienced that, heard that word. It often happens right before we're falling asleep. We're relaxing and our whole body just jerks. That type of experience is usually benign, but it can be very frightening. There's also another symptom that's more rare in benzo withdrawal, but it can happen, and to the best of my knowledge, it falls under something, and it's going to sound really gruesome, so I'm just trigger warning. It's called exploding head syndrome, but your head doesn't explode. I had it a couple of times. I would be falling asleep, and it would come on very quickly. I would feel like hear a sizzle, like an electrical sizzle, not like bacon sizzling, but a real electrical, that zzz sound. And it happened very quick. Boom, boom, boom. The sizzle, and then this blinding white flash of light. I mean, blinding. It was so uncomfortable, and my whole body would just go rigid. I would just jerk into this rigid state. And at the same time, I'd hear this horrendous boom. Yeah, that was fun. No, it wasn't. So that's exploding head. It's one of the really more rare, I think, experiences in benzo withdrawal. But if you hear somebody talking about it, then you know what it is, and you know that that's a benign thing too. I'm just trying to think anything else of words that you might not hear in the normal, or the regular life, everyday thing that we hear in the benzo community. Those are the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Oh, we can get ocular migraines. I had never really knew what that was, and for me it was like a jagged lightning bolt in both eyes in the same direction, right in the middle of my vision, and I couldn't see through it, but inside of the lightning bolt was like water moving waves. Yeah, that was freaky. So you might have an ocular migraine, and yours might show up in a different manner, but that's how mine manifested. Yeah, I think that's kind of some of the major ones, and I hope that's helpful. And I hope I haven't triggered too many people. I know it's scary to hear people talking about benzo withdrawal symptoms, because if you're on the medication and you haven't yet started tapering, of course, your mind goes to, oh my gosh, what if I have those? And if you're tapering, your mind goes to, what if I have those? And if you're off the medication, your mind goes to, oh my God, what if I get those? So just know that everybody's lived experience is different. That is one thing we say in the benzo community. Don't compare your story to, your situation to somebody else's. And it is important to know that our symptoms are not contingent upon dose or time. You could have taken a very low dose of a benzo for a very short period of time and still have quite a few symptoms. It seems to be that the governing factor that determines what our experience is going to be like is how much damage, how much downregulation of our inhibitory system did the drug do. That seems to be contingent upon our own DNA. We don't know what it is that allows the drug to come in and damage some people but not others. So dose and time, you know, doesn't really seem to play a huge factor into how we're going to recover, you know, or what our experience will be like. So please just stay in the present moment, stay right here and today. Try your best when your mind takes you into the future, what if, to, you know, come back to the present moment and know that your experience will be your experience, and don't compare to other people. And that can be hard to do, but it is helpful when we can do that. So I hope that covers some of the language and some of the terminology that you might hear in benzo withdrawal. It's really important to remember that, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. The medical community is really uneducated about this syndrome, sadly, even though these drugs have been on the market for 6-7 decades. So when we go to our doctors and we say, I've got this and this, and I think it might be the benzodiazepine that I'm taking, very often they just don't have a clue. And so we need to really educate ourselves. There is a ton of anecdotal evidence that has been collected for decades and shared in this benzodiazepine community with people who were going through this. So we have so much gathered information now. We know these things can happen, this can happen, and this is better to avoid this, or, you know, or to do this. So we really do need to look to one another for a bit of guidance. Now, I'm not saying just trust everything that you read on the internet. That would be foolish to tell that to anybody. But do your research and see what you can find about this syndrome, because your doctor may not be benzodiazepine wise. And often they can give us advice that is not only not helpful, but it can be hurtful, harmful. There are some benzo-wise doctors out there. There are some doctors who have gone through this, and thank goodness they're sharing their information and their expertise. I know I've worked with some MDs. I've also worked with some psychiatrists who have gone through this. And, you know, so some people in the medical community do understand this, but just know that when you're searching for answers, you might bump up against uneducated medical professionals, and that can be very frustrating. So do your research. You know, just do your research. Try to get as educated as possible. And if there's a word that you see in a forum, for instance, like if you've never seen the word formication, do a quick Google search on it and educate yourself and find out more about this whole benzodiazepine injury syndrome. And last, I'd like to just remind everybody, we really do heal. We really do. It takes time for some of us, but we heal. We get our lives back, and I know our lives can, for some of us, get very, very, very small. And it's a very difficult and very challenging medical crisis to have to weather, but we do, and we get well. So if you are on a benzo and you're just starting your journey to figure out how you're going to get off, which method you're going to use, what does this mean, what does that mean, you know, what's kindling? Oh wait, I didn't say what kindling was, sorry. And that was one of the questions that the sweet person who replied on my Starbucks moment video asked. Okay, kindling, it's a phenomenon that happens with GABAergic drugs, meaning they work on our inhibitory system, the GABA receptors, the braking system. And it's mostly seen with alcohol, barbiturates, and benzodiazepines. And all it means is that If you take the drug and then you get off the drug, and then you get back on the drug, and now you try to get off the drug, now you might have a withdrawal symptom where you didn't before. And so all it means is if you get off the drug and get back on, or if you lower the dose, then go back up in dose, and then you try to lower it again, you might have more intense or some added new withdrawal symptoms. That's what kindling means. And a lot of people get very scared. Oh my gosh, I'm kindled, I'm kindled. It doesn't mean anything other than you might have more symptoms or more intense symptoms. It doesn't mean that you're not going to heal. Of course you're going to heal. We all heal. But it's nice to be educated about kindling, because you want to avoid that. You want to avoid putting yourself in a situation where you might add some symptoms or make your symptoms worse. So that's why Ashton in her manual talks about come down, keep tapering, hold if you need to, do a hold, you know, and then start your way back down. It's not a good idea to go up and down and up and down. Neither is it a good idea to take the drug one day, not take it the next, take it the next day. The anecdotal evidence in our community would indicate that that could possibly cause kindling. So you just want to keep your eye on the prize, which is to get down off of your benzodiazepine and get free and let the healing begin. Of course, we do believe that we're healing as we're coming down, but the real healing, let the real healing begin. So I hope that this was helpful. I'm going to be doing more videos. So many people have been asking me to start sharing my experience and my knowledge. I have a doctorate in psychology. Postdoc, I have studied social neuroscience with an intent focus on polyvagal theory, Dr. Stephen Porges's polyvagal theory. I chose not to get licensed and to practice traditional psychotherapy, but I do have the education. I have my doctorate, and I have my own very intense lived experience, and I have been involved in this benzo community. I started in October 2010, so I've had my ear to the ground for a long time, gathering anecdotal evidence and talking to thousands of people. So if you have a question, pop over to my website, benzowithdrawalhelp.com, and go do a search. I've been blogging for quite a while, and see if you can find an answer. And if not, please reach out to me. If you want some ongoing live support, I have a Mornings with Jenn. It's my support group. You can certainly go over to benzowithdrawalhelp.com and find out more about that. And I will try my best to look at replies on my YouTube channel, but I don't always get to see them. So if you're really trying to get my attention, go over to my website. That's the best way to get my attention. And I hope this was helpful. And if you have questions about, or suggestions, I should say, about future videos, I just want to be of service to everybody in this community, and to family and friends, loved ones, people going through this, and even the medical community. So, you know, don't hesitate to say, Jenn, would you do a video about XYZ? And I will do my very best to do that for you, because I really want people to know that as scary and frightening as this journey can be for many of us, we really do get to the other side. And I just, with my whole heart, I just want to help reduce suffering in the world. So know this: you are safe, you are healing, and you will recover. Why don't you say it with me, okay? I am safe, I am healing, I will recover. Let's do it one more time. Ready? I am safe, I am healing, I will recover. Because you will, you really will. Take very, very, very good care of yourself. And as I am doing this right now, this is Memorial Weekend 2021. I hope that you can find a way to have a restful and somewhat peaceful, and hopefully a little bit of joy, a joyous Memorial Weekend. Take good care of yourselves.